Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. So I'm finished basically with the right side of the park, and now I'm going to move right over to the left side. This was really difficult because I had such a clear set and a thing in my head of what was going on the right side, and now the left side's like going back to a blank canvas again, and so I found it hard to get this side going, but I started off with the train track, and I found a way to kind of disable the collisions, even though it might be a bug or something, I'm not sure, but basically I used the track edit mod on the railway track and dragged it over the path. That way the guests can actually walk across the train track. So I thought that was a really cool little thing that I found out. I don't know whether it's something that will stay in the game, but for this, when I built it, it was perfect. So I just made some little barriers there, and I think it's really cool just to add different styles of ways of people get into different parts of the park. So maybe they cross a railway, maybe they go over a bridge, through a tunnel, that kind of thing. So it's cool to change it up. And so I'm going to start another coaster, and what this park needed really was a family ride, a family roller coaster. I think so far I've built quite a lot of thrill rides. So I'm going in with a family spinning coaster. I'm going to say this one is a Gerstlauer, mainly because of the trains that this one has. The Mauerson spinning coasters have the back-to-back seats, and the Gerstlauers, I think, have the ones where you face each other like this does. So I might be wrong, correct me if I am, but that's why this one is a Gerstlauer style spinning coaster. I think spinning coasters are a really cool family ride to have in a park, and they're quite easy to do layouts, lots of helixes, that kind of thing. Nice to put a little overbank in there sometimes. So I want this one to be really just kind of fun and modern, a quirky little colour scheme, just like it's like a filler ride. So I'm not really happy with where I placed it to begin with. I think I just move it ever so slightly upwards or down. I think down a bit, I think I bring it down. And I thought it was really cool to have an interaction with the railway. What I like to do with building railways or transport rides is I don't like to build the whole circuit first. I like to do just a part of it, figure out what's going on, see where things end up in the park, and then continue that section when I finished what I needed to do in that area. I think when you build a full layout of a transport ride, it kind of limits your mind to what you can build and how you can build within that ride, or how the lands will be. So I think it's better just to be free of the land and then go back in with the train afterwards. But sometimes I do make the mistake of forgetting that I have a train, and then I have no space left to put it through. So I've gone with a blue and orange colour scheme. I know I've got quite a few blue rides in the park already, or the inverts blue. I think that's about it. So just one, so I lied. But yeah, so I'm just going to go in and do some kind of basic supports, very kind of stylistic for this kind of ride. They like to have a support, and then they have like a long beam in between to kind of support areas that aren't supported. And then the helixes mainly have like a pole in the middle, and then have arms that spike out all around to hold up the helix. So I'm not going to show you me supporting the whole ride. As I've said before, you've seen me do it many times, and I think it's kind of boring to watch over and over again for every roller coaster that I build. So I'll just show you one of the helixes here that I'm doing, and then just a few of the other little bits, just so you can get an idea of how I did that. Another thing I found quite difficult at this stage in the build is keeping the level of realism that I began with. When I first started this park, for me this park still is, but it was basically a realism challenge, and I wanted to make a park that was so realistic that had every detail that I could think of that a real ride and theme park would have. And I have tried to keep that throughout the whole build, but I found as I've gone along and I've got a bit lazy or tired, or things aren't really working out how I had in my head, I do find that a couple of details have slipped, or things aren't really quite as detailed as I began with. I do realise that near the end. I mean, have you noticed that as well? I'd be interested to know. I am trying to keep the level of detail up. And actually, when as I've said before, I finished this part now. I did actually go back around at the end and added some little bits in that I might have missed out. But I did find it difficult to keep the level of detail. So as you can see, the sports are now nearly done for this ride. Now I just like to go back in and do what I do with all my rides in Terraform and TerraPaint, or whatever I do, just to add the greys to the bottom of the supports, just to make it look a bit more like the concrete where the footers were laid, and then give some shadows with the darker green. We're going to add some shrubbery. As I said in the last episode, when I made this episode, the new shrubbery was added in the game, the cactuses, and there's 2 bushes in there that are really great, different shades of green from the other trees that are in the game. So I go around and add those around the bottom of this ride as well. So I'm just doing kind of the catwalks. I looked at a reference photo for the top and just trying to copy it as best I could with the pieces I had. And then now I'm doing a transfer track, and the spinning coasters and kind of wild mouse coasters in general have very small transfer tracks. They can kind of take 1 train at a time, and then normally just like a really simple square that slides out and in and goes to a small section of track behind the station. So that's what I've done here. As you can see, I've made a 1 tile wide transfer track, and that section would just slide out and slide back in again. Really easy to do that, and it looks really cool. So I wanted the queue line to kind of go off diagonal a little bit. So I do that later on by using some path covers. But for now, just put in your standard queue line and then an exit queue. This station is going to be real simple, real kind of, I wanted to keep it modern and funky to give it that kind of teenage kid vibe with the ride. So the stations for the spinning coasters don't have to be huge, I don't think. I've not really been on many spinning coasters that have giant stations. The spinning coaster at Bulbayan Land is tiny. That's actually a Malazan spinning coaster. Actually, it's a really good one. I like that one. But if you've been on Windoors at Phantasialand, they are got really small stations as well. Trying to think of the Gerstlauer spinners. I can only think of the ones at Six Flags parks, and there's one in Madrid. I think maybe that one's a Gerstlauer as well. I'm not 100% sure. I have to go and check that out on the rollercoasterdatabase.com, which is actually a really good website if you're ever searching for inspiration for roller coasters or designs or layouts, or you want to look up roller coasters from around the world. Then get on the roller coaster database and you'll find everything you ever need to see on there. It's really cool sometimes if you're just kind of thinking, oh, what was that park that had that ride, and you can easily find it on that website. It's cool. I really like that park, that website, sorry. So this station is nearly kind of finished, I guess. As you can see, I just added some kind of like orange trims just to give it like a kind of modern vibe. I think it's okay. It's maybe not my best station that I've built so far. I was kind of struggling for ideas at this point with kind of building sizes and shapes and layouts. Like, I don't want to try and keep a station square, as I've said before, as it can be quite boring. This one is square, but I guess the roof's kind of different with the raised part in the middle. But there's only so many kind of station building shapes you can do, and I mean, once you've done a couple, like 3 or 4, you kind of start having to repeat yourself with the station ideas. So yeah, I was finding it kind of difficult at this point of the build, with trying to always build something new. So now I'm going in and doing a fake diagonal queue line. I've said this before as well, but there was a trick to try and get rid of the unwanted rails that are on the actual real paths. I didn't know this at this point when I was building it, but it is something I go back in at the end of the build and do to all the paths just to make them look real super clean and tidy. And here I am building a diagonal catwalk because there are no diagonal catwalks, so I just use some diagonal path covers and a diagonal piece of fence there. And something else I've added here is at the end of spinning coasters there is like this mechanism that if the train comes into the brakes and it's on like an angle, there's like this funny metal thing that flips the car around straight so that it goes in the station in the correct way. So I just put that there at the beginning of the station. And to be honest, this roller coaster is kind of complete. It's a real quick one today. It's a real just kind of like a ride, just that I've slapped down to get me going for this part of the this area of the theme park. At the very end, I have included some screenshots as always of what I've done. The screenshots I've taken, obviously, I've taken way later on in the process of this build, so there are things in there that I haven't built yet, just so you know. But thanks for watching, please comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.